You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Do you know that there are 3 types of stories that you can be using in your marketing to basically sell your business, your service, your offering to your prospects long before they get to the point of sale, so that by the time they get there, they're already a hell yes, ready to sign up, just wanting to do the transaction, and it's a breeze, so much easier, right? So are you using 3 different types of stories? Now, not 3 stories, but 3 types of stories. Today's episode, I'm sharing with you what these different types of stories are, what their purpose is, why you should be using them, incorporating them into your marketing, and giving you some examples as well so that you can go away and start to think about your own stories. Maybe start sharing a different type that you may not be doing right now. So stay tuned. Episode is coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
So when you're thinking about selling, so much actual selling is done throughout your marketing long before we actually get to the sales transaction. And just the other week, I was hosting a live training session for my Business Jam clients inside my Business Jam program. And this one was all around messaging. Messaging in particular is copy or words that help to increase somebody's desire to work with you and removes their doubts, their worries, their concerns, and reasons why they might not choose to work with you. It's not about convincing, it's actually helping to remove confusion and create more clarity. Now, when we're looking at this type of messaging, one of the most important types of this sort of messaging and where a lot of selling actually happens subliminally long before we get to the point of sale is through the stories that you're telling. Now, I know that this isn't new news about storytelling. So many people talk about the power of storytelling and why we should be doing it. But in today's episode, I thought, why don't we dive into what types of stories you can be telling and the 3 different types that there are, because yes, there is more than one type of story. It's not just about having a story framework. There's actually different levels of story that you would have in your business, and each of them play a really important part in your messaging. So when we understand this and we can decide what story is the right sort of story to be selling, like what type first, and then you could pull out the particular story that is most relevant to tell, and how all of these act as a lovely tapestry, like you're weaving this tapestry to create a beautiful picture of what it would be like to work with you, whether you're the right person for them, answering a lot of those questions and queries that people have, so that by the time it's getting to the point of sale, they're already thinking, yes, this is relevant for me. Yes, it's possible for me. And I really want to work with that person. Like, they are the best fit. Okay. That's where we need to get to for somebody to say yes. So stories, so important. Let's start off with the top level story, because as I said, there are 3. So 3 different types of stories. Now, the first type is your personal brand story. What is this? So your personal brand story is the story of essentially who you are and what you stand for. So it's probably a bit of your background, a bit about you, what makes you you, what makes you different, unique. But really importantly, this is where we're bringing through our values, like our core values of what we believe in, what we're standing for, what we're all about, which helps somebody to feel like they're in your circle, in your zone, and there's a relevance there, there's connection there, or if they're not at all. And a good personal brand story will never be something that relates to everybody. It's never going to be you as plain vanilla, because as we know, there are, humans are different. We're all different. Not everybody is going to be your ideal client. Not everybody you want to draw to you. You actually want to draw a specific type of client to you, the ones that will have the best results, the ones that will understand and get you, that you guys will work really well together, no matter if you're working one-to-one or in a group setting. There will be people who resonate and connect with that way that you teach, or the way that you coach, or the way that you serve. And there'll be others that actually need something different. So that's okay. And this brand story, really the purpose of it is helping to draw in your clan, the ones who are a really great fit for you, and the right values, the vibe, all of these more emotional layers, and also helping to repel the ones who are not at the same time, right? But the important part of it is the real benefit of your personal brand story is creating something memorable. We remember stories, we don't necessarily remember things or facts or words. So when they're put together in a story that we can relate to a person, it becomes unique, it becomes special, and it becomes something that they then attach to you. So it's your own story that makes you, that makes you someone that they will remember. Fantastic, right? Because maybe they're not ready to buy right now. Maybe they might be your ideal client, but they may not be right in the place where it's the right time. And I'm not talking about just because they've got fear of it being the right time and they actually are ready, they're just afraid to move. But, literally it may not be the right time for them to do whatever it is. And in that case, we want them to remember you, right? They've come across you. We don't want to just become this name that has no face, that's got no meaning behind it. We want to attach some things that, as us humans, our brains love to make connections. So we want to make those connections with your name so that it's really well embedded in their mind and in their memory. And when they are ready to do the thing, then they know who they're going to be looking up straight away, right? So your personal brand story, I thought for this episode, just to make it a little bit more fun and engaging, I would tell you my stories as we're going through as an example, so you can kind of see what the difference is for each of these. Now, my personal brand story, this really begins back 7 years ago from now. Of course, that's not the beginning of me. That was, when I decided to take the left fork in the road instead of the right fork. What had happened? Well, I'd spent 20 years basically building a career, doing what I thought I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be in life, to have all of the things, to tick the boxes, the house, the husband, the family, the holidays, and the life that I wanted. I thought that was the path that I had been on and I'd been working towards, ever since I finished school. Been to university, got my marketing degree, started working. And so 20 years I spent working my way up the corporate ladder, got to the top where I thought that it's where I needed to be, and got really disillusioned by what was there. And actually, if we're going to be really honest, far more frustrated by suddenly, because I became a mother around that time. Actually, 7 years ago was my second child. So 3 years previously to that, I'd had my first child. And ever since that happened, literally things had changed at work. I suddenly was in this invisible box that I'd never created for myself, but other people were creating for me. And this was the box of the working mother. Apparently, according to everybody else, or according to the male executives, this meant that I had different priorities and my attention was elsewhere, and therefore in their mind it couldn't be on my work. Interestingly though, I was only proving that my team was working really well. Our results were improving. As head of marketing, you can see that in the sales of the business and in the growth of the business. It had never been stronger. Yet what I was getting, the messages were, oh no, you're now a mother, you're too busy doing other things. And I had that moment of really seeing, I guess, the world for what it was and where this was leading, and thinking, actually, I don't think this is leading me to the life that I really want. What they're saying is not in congruence anymore with what I want in life. And yes, I'm a mum. It doesn't mean I'm not dedicated and don't want to be successful. Actually, I do want that. I want all of that and even more than what they're willing to let me have. So I actually wanted more success, but I also was so firm on wanting more time. I wanted to look after my own health and my fitness because that's always been a really top value for me. I know that I'm best when I'm fit and healthy and loving myself, loving life. So I needed time for that, but I really was feeling so heartbroken leaving my son in childcare in the morning and getting the train into work, and then thinking I have to leave exactly at this time to get back to him. And they were long days. It was long days to leave a toddler and, when we'd first started, a baby behind in childcare. And it absolutely tore at my heart. It wasn't enough to have a day off to work a 4-day week and actually do my full-time job in the 4 days, but that wasn't really enough. Like, I wanted to be around him, and I thought, well, why can't I be more flexible in this? Why can't I work while he's sleeping? Why can't I fit in what I needed to fit in around it? And I just couldn't see the way forward where I was. So I decided, well, the only way I can do this is if I'm my own boss, right? And so that's really what started this business. And I was just so passionate because of what happened, because of what I had experienced. I thought there's that many other women experiencing this exact same thing, but feeling more stuck, probably because they may not have had the marketing experience that I'd had. They may not have had a business already. I did have a side hustle at that time that I'd been running for about 7 years. Again, this funny number 7 coming up. I had business experience. I knew that I could do it. I knew I could start a business. So I had a level of confidence that I know a lot of women didn't have. And I also had a level of conviction that it was 100% possible. And it's just in the strategy. So I set out to not only create that lifestyle for myself, but also to show and help other women do it for themselves as well, like leveraging all of my marketing expertise to help them create the right strategy for their business. So that's what I did. And that's why I'm so passionate. That's why this podcast is called She's a Business Podcast. It's why I work with predominantly women. Yes, there are a few men that I work with who are a really great fit to work with me, but mostly I'm there attracting women, and I'm really a champion. My voice is there. I talk about this. I talk about the maternal wall. I talk about the struggles because nobody else really understands just how much your confidence gets crushed when you're suddenly put in a box that you'd never created simply because you became a mother. So that is why I'm here to do what I do. And as you can just see in that story, my personal brand story, is I've shared the values that I have, the values of time, of family, of freedom, flexibility and travel, and also this really powerful, passionate desire to help women because, I just got to that point where it's like, I'm just not enough to go along being vanilla, to be working in a business for somebody else, filling a shareholder's pockets. That to me was not fulfilling at all. And so the change that I made, as I shared with you, was 100% purpose-driven, heart-driven, and that's why I'm here doing what I am and why I'm still here 7 years later. Like, I didn't give up at all the times it got hard, all the times, the hurdles that you go through, starting a business and running a business with babies in the house and young kids. No, I'm not giving up. Why? Because this is my purpose. So that is the brand story, right? That's who I am. That's what I stand for and why. So when you hear that story, then you really get me as a person, right? I hope that you've got me. You have to let me know. Did that resonate with you? Did you feel it? Did you understand, what has led me to where I am today? So that's the top level story. That's your personal brand story. That is your number one overarching story. But this isn't the only story. And that's actually not the one that really sells your stuff. As I said, that's designed to help bring in the people into your world and into your sphere who resonate, who feel the same way, who have like-minded values, like-minded desires, who really connect with you on that level because they're going to be the best people for you to work with. So now we drop it down to the next level of story. And this is what I'd call your aha moment story. Now, aha moment is not like, boom, it's just a moment of time necessarily, but it is a moment in your journey, we'll call it a journey, where you discovered that your way of doing what it is that you do, so whether you provide a certain service, whether you're a coach, whatever it is that you do in your business, you have a way of doing it. You have a premise of why this is the best way. For example, there may be some health coaches out there who coach whole foods type of diets, for example. So somebody who coaches on that has a very strong conviction that whole foods is the best. Then there are others who do keto or do other things, right? And each of them is 100% convinced that their way is best. Now, it's the same with your business. That was just to give you a really simple example, because I know that you understand we've all seen the different types of health, ways in which of doing it. So, another one might be even vegan eating and training. That would be something that people who do it and who coach on it are 100% convinced that that is the best way. They're not just going to stand up there and say, well, this is the best, because we're all going to go, well, whatever, like, how do you know? That's not what I've heard. There's all these different other ways of eating. There's other ways of having good diets. We're all going to have lots of kind of but objections, right? So the aha moment story is when you're telling the moment of how you discovered it to be the best way. Why is it the best way? Why is this the way that you stand by, the way that you coach, the way that you teach, or even what it is that you do? So maybe you're a website designer and one day you discovered Kajabi and you were like, boom, I'm never doing WordPress ever again. Kajabi is the only way, whatever it might be for you, right? And you'd have a story behind it. Why do you think that? Why are you 100% convinced that this is best? So your aha moment story is where your way came from. Now, this is a really key, critical sales piece in your messaging, because this is what helps somebody move towards you, like increases desire for working with you. Because by the end of the story and by the end of when you've finished backing it up with any of the evidence that you may need to give as well, they're going to be in agreement with you that this is the best way. It may not be the only way. There might be lots of ways out there, but you need them to agree for them to buy from you or sign up with you that your way is the best way for them, right? So this story is telling it from your experience, your perspective, how you figured out that this was the best way. So it's going to be a story of that time, of how you discovered it. It may not get rid of all of the objections. That may be something that you need to do after that, where you think, well, they're still going to be holding on to a few thoughts or ideas that there are other ways that could be equally as good. And, really your job in your marketing is to help to state the case, make the case, like you're a bit of a lawyer, make the case for why the other ways aren't as good. Yes, they may be useful, they might work for some people, but this is the best way for this particular type of person who I'm speaking to right now, because this is why, right? You're going to create your case, you're going to bring in the evidence, and you're going to help them to understand it. So I hope that doesn't sound too complicated. So the origin story, let's dive into an example. What is my example? Well, we're going to go back to 2010. So this is quite a long time ago now. We're in 2024, so 14 years ago. I started my very first online business. I had the dream back then, I wanted to make my own way. I was sort of frustrated at the point I was at in my career, thinking it's not going fast enough. I'm not getting where I want to go. I'm going to start a business, see if I can make it a thing, and then I can quit. So I started a side hustle, and we all know what side hustles are. They tend to stay side hustles unless somebody really changes their mindset. But at the same time, my career did start taking off. I got that top executive job in marketing, and my focus was really on my career, because it seemed like at the time, well, this is still the best way to get the result I wanted. So I had this side hustle, and I, was using all my marketing expertise to create a business and put it out there on the internet. And I launched it. I started to get clients. But it wasn't really growing at any great rate. Like, it definitely was nowhere near enough for me to quit my job and to do it full time, because it was just so low. And I was trying everything. I was putting in the effort into, all the different tactics. I tried doing some ads. I was listing on some directories. I utilized SEO. Obviously, I was, looking at my design, my website, the copywriting, all of those things. And nothing changed. It didn't kind of move the needle. It sort of got to this point and I was just sat there. So a few years ticked by going on like this. And, it kind of got to the point where I was thinking, oh, is this even worth it? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I spending my weekends? It was actually a wedding dress business, funnily enough. So why am I spending my weekends steaming wedding dresses and packing them up? And I'm really not making any significant coin here. What am I doing? I could just be enjoying my life, right? And putting my focus into my career. But there was something that just sort of kept me going. I'm not really sure what it was. And I kept it going. Then I can literally take you to the moment that this happened, because I was standing in the kitchen one morning drinking my coffee and I got an email in on my phone. So I looked at my phone and it was this client who'd been a really troublesome client. She had not been easy to deal with. She was super high maintenance, and I'd gone all out to serve her at the highest level, like to really give her a great experience and make everything good. And she was blackmailing me. She literally had received her item and she said that, I can't actually remember the words, but she basically said she was going to put bad reviews on all of my profiles on Google and on all my social media if I didn't refund her in full. And that was against my policy that she had signed up to when she signed up with me. There was a non-refundable deposit, and there was a certain policy around returns and things, which she was just disregarding. So she was blackmailing me for 100%. And at that moment, I thought, wow, I already wasn't that, into this business. I might as well just quit because this sucks. I was like, what am I doing all this effort for? I've done everything for this girl, and then look at how I'm getting treated. It really shocked me, I think, was the bottom line. I was so angry, very frustrated. I couldn't even do anything right away because I was that angry. I thought I better not reply because I'm going to say something very blunt and I don't want to do that. So I kind of put it aside. I let it sit for a few days. And in that time, I just had this moment. I think I was in the gym working out and I went, oh, what if clients weren't all like her? What if I actually, instead of having these clients that were, really high maintenance and demanding, and completely ungrateful for what they were receiving, what if I had ones who were grateful, who thought it was amazing and, were just better all around to deal with? And I decided on a whim, because I had nothing to lose at this point. I was about to close the business down. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for a premium client. I'm going to activate one of the strategies that I've done in my business experience, working with other companies. Instead of going for the affordable and trying to sell more, I'm actually going to go higher ticket and sell less but have better clients and see if I can just make more that way, have a higher profit margin. So I went to work. I kind of unpacked, the strategies that I'd applied in the businesses I'd worked for before, figured it out, put it into this business, completely revised my offering, my messaging, and who I was targeting, put it live. And so interesting. Literally, the very next client who I attracted was totally different. They were what I would call a premium client. They signed up without any negotiation at all, very happy to sign up, and they were an absolute dream to work with. And I'd put in the same amount of effort at my end that I had been before, but I'd made literally twice as much. It was incredible. Yes, it was a different offering, a different service, and the output was different, but the time that I'd spent and the money that I'd gained back were astronomically different, right? I'd put in the same amount of time, but I'd been paid so much more. And it was that moment that I realized, okay, I'd kind of been approaching this all wrong, really. And I just went forward from there. So my business grew. I was able to hire a business manager, which was great because it allowed the business to grow even more because it wasn't reliant just on me. And it grew to the point where I was able to sell it. Now, that was that moment that I really understood that the easiest, fastest way to reach your income goals is with high ticket offers and attracting premium clients who are absolutely wanting that top quality service. They're wanting the best and they're more than happy to pay for it. And it's the same across any industry because I learned it from IT industry. Here I was in doing wedding dresses, and then I've applied the exact same thing in my coaching business because yes, guess what? I kind of made the same mistake again when I started out here. I made that exact same mistake and then I remembered it, thought, why, here I am again with a business that doesn't look like we're going to have, the numbers aren't going to match up. The time that I have and the income were not matching. And so I applied the same strategy here and the same thing happened. And that became the premise of what I coach my clients on. So now it's in a framework, which is what I call Business Jam in my program. And I've now coached hundreds of women through this program, how to align to premium clients, to really great fit clients, and to increase, have a premium offering so that you can reach your income goals without slaving away all night and all day. And that's what it is. So there we go. There's my origin story. Very off the cuff, very non-timed and tailored, but you get it, right? You understand this is the moment where I discovered that for me, my whole premise is that higher ticket, more premium offers and premium clients are the fastest way to those higher income goals in less hours. And you can absolutely very easily do it as a mum with young kids at home where you're every day after school, I'm taking them to different sports activities. Mornings, always the little juggle of getting ready and doing lunch boxes and telling them a million times to go and brush their teeth. Yes, that's the mornings. So, that is it. That's the origin story. Now, of course, when you hear that, you're going to be thinking, well, but I've seen there's other ways of, reaching high income. And what about more scalable offerings? And absolutely. So I'm going to then talk to all of those, because when I'm talking about high ticket, I don't necessarily mean one-to-one. It doesn't have to be, can be one-to-many. It can be a high ticket container that you've created. There's many ways of doing it. And it's really about, my framework helps you to define and decide what is going to be the right format for you in your business. You might have more than one high ticket offering. So that's it in a nutshell. And then I can back all of that up with evidence. We can get into some numbers, we can do the math, we can see, well, it's a lot easier to get one or two people saying yes than it is to get 10 or 100 people saying yes. It takes a lot less effort on your part. So then you get to the point where you're thinking, okay, I'm sold on this, right? Where do I sign up? So that is your aha moment story. That's where you really hear when it was that I discovered that this way is the best way. And that is what I 100% stand by. So I talk to it. I live and breathe it. That's what I do, what I coach. The third level of story. So we're almost there. The third level I like to call is like your explainer stories. So these are stories that are much more micro in the level. And you use them to help to explain a point, help to get across something that you're talking about. They can be really short stories, they can be much longer stories, but higher strategic level. They're much more down on a level of detail. So it's one specific point that you're trying to get across. Now, an example of this might be, around what I started this episode with was that, your selling actually happens before the sales call. And the moment I really realized how true this was, I won't forget, it's about a year ago. We were traveling for 8 months in a caravan around Australia, and we'd just started to cross the Nullarbor Desert, which is quite a famous desert in Australia. It goes along the bottom coast between South Australia and WA. It has the longest straight road with no curves, a treeless plain. It is a long, hot desert, and it had been super hot. The day before, been about 45 degrees Celsius, and we're absolutely roasting. So we pulled into this roadhouse where we spent the night because there isn't like camping grounds and nice things along the desert. It's literally a road. So you pull in where all the truckies pull in, and we slept there the night. And in the morning, someone had booked a discovery call with me. So I had to take this call. Now, interestingly, overnight, literally had changed. It had gone from being hot, crazy desert heat to cold and raining. It actually was raining, and I put jeans on. I was that cold. And so the kids were in the caravan because I couldn't kind of send them out. There wasn't anywhere to go or anything to do there. We were literally on a patch of dirt. It was desert. So they were in the caravan, and I thought, well, I've got to take this call, but I don't want to do it, with them chattering around me because it's very distracting. So I went to this outside the caravan. There was a little shelter in this, I don't even know what to call it, roadhouse car park thing that we were in, a shelter. Now, it was an old kind of bus shelter, if you can imagine, sort of corrugated iron. It had some painting on it. It was very rickety, but it had a little shelf I could put my laptop on so I could do a Zoom call, and I was still connected to the internet in the caravan. So that's where I was hosting this discovery call, thinking, oh my goodness, I've never looked this unprofessional before. I'm literally, what she can see behind me is patches of dirt and this old shelter and nothing like the high life of, being an online business owner or anything fancy at all. So here I was. It was windy. It was blowing my hair everywhere. And I took this discovery call. Really beautiful lady, and we had a great chat. And, we finished, and I thought, well, that's probably that. She's probably thinking, who is this lunatic who's out there in the caravan? And within 24 hours, I got the email through from Stripe that she had signed up. And that's where that moment just happened for me, where I thought, you know what, she was already sold. 100% sold before she even got on the call. And it was probably just that check-in. Is this person real? Are they what they say they are? Does the real life experience match what I've been seeing on, social media or on the website? And yep, it all does. So good, let's do this. And that was the moment. I really 100%, even though I'd always said, the selling happens before the sale, it really hit home for me then, because it could not have been less ideal conditions to have a sales call. So there you go. That is an explainer story. I'm explaining a point. That was a slightly longer one. You might have some shorter ones that you might, only be a couple of sentences long, where you're explaining a point, you're saying something, and you have a little story to go along with it. But those are little micro stories. They help to get across something that you want to share, help to create that perspective that you're wanting to share with somebody. So there they are. They're the 3 levels of stories that you're going to have in your marketing for your business. Each of them has a role to play. Each of them is very powerful in helping you attract the right person, increase their desire to work with you and not choose alternative ways, and I guess help them to shift any perspectives or understand things that they may not understand if you're using those little micro stories. They are the kind of ones that you might share on social media and that type of thing, which are mini. So there we have it. I'd love to hear from you, what you thought, what your questions are, what type of story do you commonly tell? And has this been eye-opening for you? Did you realize that there were 3 different types of stories? Which one are you going to start using now? Which one are you going to incorporate into your marketing? I'd love to hear from you. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in to She's a Business podcast. If you've loved this episode, I would appreciate you so much if you would just scroll down, click on the 5 stars. And if you've got 30 seconds, leave a very, very short review, because it helps other people to find the podcast. which obviously helps other people to gain the value that you're getting. And, why not share the love? Why not spread it around? The more that we can help each other, I think the more we grow together, right? So I would love that if you do have a spare moment and don't mind clicking the 5 stars and sharing a couple of words of what you think about the podcast. That would be absolutely amazing. Really appreciate it. That's it from me this week. I will be back again, same time, same place next week. See you later.
Do you know something? There are so many people that are overcomplicating their marketing, which means that they're running on the marketing treadmill, pumping out so much content, but still not yielding those results, meaning there are no clients actually signing up. Like, what use is an audience if they're not an audience of buyers? What use is it creating great content to share if the people who are reading it have no desire to take that next step to actually working with you? Well, if any of those things are happening for you right now, then it's highly likely that you're simply missing a key in your marketing strategy. And those keys are really simple. There are just 5 of them. And it's about how you align them, put them together. That is the simplicity that makes everything work, just like clockwork, so that you have a consistent stream of what you would consider your dream clients, literally turning up in your inbox, ready to have a conversation, ready to sign up with you without you going out there to find them. So let's put an end to cold outreach. Let's put an end to searching for clients in Facebook groups. Let's put an end to just waiting around and relying on referrals to come through from other people. Because when you have that consistent stream of clients, then you're in the place of being able to choose. You've got an abundance of opportunity out there, and all we need to do is turn on the tap for your clients to find you. So I've created a brand new training, and it's called 5 Keys to Clients on Tap. So you can guess what it's about, can't you? Well, this 1-hour short training takes you through those 5 critical keys that you need to have in your business so that you do have clients on tap, and not just any old client, the ones that you most want to be working with, that are going to make you profitable, that are going to fulfill you, are going to make you feel like jumping out of bed every morning because you love your business so much. So you want in? All you need to do is head to jessicaosborne.com/TMF for the magnetic formula. So TMF, and get yourself into the next session that's running for this training. You honestly will not regret it. It is going to change your business, your life, if you've been experiencing any of those problems I mentioned before. Look forward to seeing you in there, and let's do this.